Google gets a slap on the wrist for collecting user data. The CISP is making their own social network, and could Anonymous knock out North Korea's intranet? All that and more this time on ThreatWire. Hello and welcome to this episode of ThreatWire. I'm Shannon Morrison. Today, I am joined by the wonderful and talented Ayaz Akhtar from Tech News Today on Twit TV.
That is true. I'm wonderful and talented, and I am here. It's very true.
Thank you so much for filling in for Darren. Darren is out this weekend. We also have Greg, in case Greg wanted to put any input into the show. Now, this is your summary of what's threatening security, privacy, and internet freedom from week to week. On to the first story. In March, Google agreed to pay $7 million a fine to several US states, including the District of Columbia, for an incident involving their Street View cars. Now, the company's branded Street View cars drive across the globe collecting data and images for their Street View maps, and they were aiming to collect location-based data like Wi-Fi network names and router numbers for future use. Now, between the years of 2008 to 2010, they were also said to have been collecting all sorts of user data, including passwords and emails and websites visited from Wi-Fi networks, all within their range. Now, Google blames an experimental piece of code in the Street View car software, and also said that the code wasn't used anywhere else. Now, is this the complete story? Unfortunately, it's not. Now, at first, Google denied the case. They said nothing happened, it's not real. They said it was not collecting any user data. And then the company explained that the data collection was actually a mistake. Oops, yeah, it did exist. Now, last year, it was found that the engineer may have been involved in the data collection. Some guy created it and he had a whole background in war driving. Yeah, hilarious. Now, even after all the drama, came more news that the data that should have been deleted was still in possession by Google. So they turned over the collection to the authorities and governments for all the different states that this happened in. Now, all of this, and Google was finally fined a sum of $7 million. But with this solution also comes criticism. $7 million is a small price to pay for a violation of internet privacy, although it is still the largest amount fined in US history for that kind of violation. Now, Google's 2012 revenue is reported to be about $50.2 billion, so $7 million is kind of a fraction of pay for their users' privacy. Google also agreed to put employees through proper educational training about user privacy and sponsor a campaign about protecting yourself on Wi-Fi networks. And the FCC also fined Google for impeding their investigation at one point, but they said they will not be taking any other legal action because the exact violations of wiretap laws were unclear when attributed to home Wi-Fi network transmissions. Which brings me to a question. Now, if Google is merely fined such a small portion for likely 2 years of data collection and retention, which is quite a bit, what does that tell other companies about the value of our privacy? Also, the users get nothing out of this deal, but another reason to demand really clear facts about their privacy and what's going on.
Now, speaking of privacy, the New York Times published a piece spotlighting a study on privacy from the Carnegie Mellon University, headed by Alessandro Acquisti. It turns out that people may be more forthcoming with private information depending on the circumstances. Acquisti's team offered mall-goers a $10 discount card. Those mall rats could get $2 more if they would disclose some of their shopping data. 50% said no to that deal. However, a slight modification made a lot more people part with their personal information. The team gave out $12 cards and said that if the mall-goer wanted, the team could keep the shopper's data private, but then the discount card would have a value of $10. 90% of the shoppers kept the $12 card. Acquisti also found that people who were distracted were more likely to give out information. The lesson? You can use human psychology to trick humans, so if you're a human, you gotta look out.
Ah, dang, I'm a human. Now, according to a brief article posted on the bcs.org, the Cybersecurity Information Partnership, aka CISP, is developing a social network for cyber intelligence agencies and private businesses to discuss and share information. Now, this network, which was set to go live on March 27th, will allow for faster collaboration between firms in a secure way. I'm keeping my eyes open for more news on this network, but as of now, it seems to be quite private and out of the public eye. Now, my question is, will this be the new Facebook for the CIA? Let's hope that their privacy regulations are a little bit better than the social network that we all love to hate.
I can't wait to see posts about people hating the redesign to that new social network. A statement posted on Pastebin and is attributed to Anonymous says that hackers have infiltrated North Korea's local servers and intranet. According to the statement, the hackers got in due to idiot passwords. They claim to have obtained over 15,000 membership records of yurimazakiri.com. If you were hoping for an insight as to what a North Korean intranet looks like, sorry. The statement says the plan is to wipe the data and then wipe the government. Martin Williams at North Korea Tech says that according to his understanding of the North Korean system, a hack of yurimazakiri.com doesn't mean that North Korea's servers were hacked, since North Korea's systems are believed to be totally separate with no network link. The attack may not even be associated with Anonymous, since the Anonymous Twitter account has made no mention of the hack.
Yeah, we know they really like to boast about those hacks, don't they?
Absolutely.
It's kind of funny. Now, last week we were asked about your take. We asked what your take is on dealing with a DOS attack, a DOS attack. Now, security researcher Dan Kaminsky is quoted as saying you can't stop a DNS flood by shutting down those servers because those machines have to be open and public by default. The only way to deal with this problem is to find the people doing it and arrest them. Now, do you agree? And our comment from the week comes from Aaron King. He said, would there be a way to throttle DNS requests so that only X amount of requests per source IP are responded? I imagine the packets associated with the DOS attack would be coming in greater volume per source than normal DNS requests. So, if requests over a certain threshold per second were discarded, this should at least help with the system's stability. It probably would not help with the network impact of the attack, though. That's some good insight.
This week, we'd like to know how you feel about spider monkeys. Are they a threat to your life, your shoes, your bananas?
No.
They're not a threat?
No, the normal way.
Oh,
the normal way.
Okay. This week, we'd like to know your thoughts on Google's fine. Was it enough, or should they have been charged for negligence of data protection? Is your privacy worth $7 million?
Mine is. Now,
is your spider monkey worth $7 million?
I assume so. Maybe 700. I don't know. I want to buy a spider monkey. Now remember, you can find all the ways to subscribe at threatwire.org, and make sure to get involved with our Google Plus community. That's where all the conversation happens all week.
And with all that, I'm Ayaz Akhtar.
And thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Shannon Morse, and we'll see you next week on The Internet.